What's up, guys? Casey and George back after a little week hiatus. George had to go on a little work trip, make some money to keep going bracket racing up and fresh for all y'all. But of course, as we do every show, George, we got to thank those people that help GBR. I was about to say TSR. They're one of our people, but we'll get to that in just a second.
Right.
Everybody, all these people help GBR, man. Support those who support us. TSR Racing Products, Power Glide, Turbo 350, Turbo 400, 727 transmission, full transmissions, parts, accessories, anything you need over there. BRG 3D printed parts. I just got some goodies in the mail from old Brian Garrett over there. I got a GoPro mount and a helmet hook for Dad's Top Sportsman car. We're getting ready to go test that. We'll talk about that a little while later, but he can print up about anything that you could possibly give him dimensions for. He uses AutoCAD, literally can make anything that you can't make yourself at home. 3D print it, super light, super easy, super sturdy. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas for all your stickers, shirts, brochures, banners, etc. Hit up Syntex Printing for any of those types of needs. Driven Racing Oil, by far the best oil to use with methanol burning engines, hands down, and use the code GBR10. Get you a little bit off your order, 10% in fact, and free shipping to your door on anything over $100. Proform Parts, visit proformparts.com for all your carburetors, alternators, starters, radiators, distributors, tools, much more. I could keep going on, but you can visit proformparts.com, find out for yourself. And Crew Chief Pro software, contact Don Higgins over there at crewchiefpro.com. Get your dial-ins and your weather predictions in order for this summer. If you haven't figured them out yourself this year, Don will help you out with that. So George, how was the trip, man?
It was actually good, actually. Let me say that I got to meet everybody in the world currently, or if you're not currently, you have worked from home. So that was the first time I got to meet my teammates and my boss, and kind of shoot the breeze with them, let them meet me as a person, love me or hate me, one way or the other. But it was definitely it was pretty fun. Nashville's pretty interesting place. Left right before the CMAs, or the CM Country Music Awards, and the big party that happens downtown Nashville every single year. So left right before that started. Definitely, I think I'll go back to Nashville. That was a pretty interesting place there, though. But all in all, I can't complain. The flight was fine. In and out. Hotel was good, So, I mean, yeah, not bad. The only thing that wasn't fun was that we didn't get a chance to GBR live like we normally do,
Yeah, man, but truth be told, we had a whole lot going on. We do this show every single week, every Tuesday, 5 Eastern, 4 Central Time, 3 if you're way out there on the other side of the country from us. And I don't know what time it is, but I know we got a lot of Aussies out there watching us out there in Australia, man. And in fact, there's a guy that I forget his name right now, but he said he's looking to purchase an entire operation to come over here and race for about 5 weeks. I want to say 6 months from now or so. So if anybody's looking to sell, he said he's looking for a gooseneck with some living quarters and a dually. And he's also potentially looking for an RV with a trailer with it. So if anybody has a whole operation they want to get rid of, hit me up and I'll send your information that way. But hit us up on the Facebook page as always. Follow GBR, like, follow, share. Anywhere that you find GBR, podcast format, YouTube format, or Facebook format. But George, it's Twin 50s week, man. Got some TV promotions going on.
Twin 50s week, and I will be missing in action again this week. It's actually the same time this year as family vacation week. So right after good old GBR, I'm going to jump in my car and drive 11 hours on out to Fort Walton, Florida. So I will be in attendance virtually at the Twin 50s, but let's take a look at this race, man, because I'm going to say it again. I've said it for a few months now. You really don't get a chance to run at a race like this that often, especially not in the St. Louis area so immediately. That's home base for me and you, Casey. Home base for many people that we grew up with that still race, love the sport. Tyler and Brian are doing a heck of a job with TV promotions, bringing this type of a race to our atmosphere that we're so used to. It's perfect for that area. So I want to say there may be a handful of entries left. It's not a show up at the gate type of deal there. So if you need an entry and you need to call me, or you need to call Brian or Tyler, if you call me, I'm only going to send you straight to Brian or Tyler. If you message me, whatever you want to call it, and they can probably still get you in this race. If you're anywhere close to St. Louis and you're on the outside looking in on this one, shame on you, number one, okay? But number two, I don't know what you're thinking if you're a drag racer and you can afford the entry fee for this race. This is a very well put together race for $799 weekend entry with a little bit of no box love getting in there too, you know. Friday bonus is $2,500, Saturdays is $2,500, Sundays is $1,000 for no box, and they're going to be rolling into the race after the fact. So there's a little bit of love for everybody going on here, and they're going to kick it off. Last year they kicked it off with the Mulligan race, Casey. I got to compete in that. That was pretty fun. I actually had my Mulligan in the 5th round, but I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning by the time that got there, and I'm be honest, old George got tired, so I just said, forget it. I'm kind of done. Well, that was goofy because a couple rounds later they split all the money up. Anyway, that dragster race, Casey, man, something I think we should spend just a couple moments on, to be honest. I've not seen a dragster race like this before. I don't know if anybody out there has, where it actually has a dragster up top, but $5,000 to the runner-up, $1,000 that goes to the semifinals, $500 to the quarters, and then $250 to the eights. So, Casey, man, talk to me. And generally, we see a dragster race. You and I talked a little bit earlier. We normally see 2 different dragsters. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's either a dragster shootout to win, or it's I think the Fling does it in a certain scenario where they'll have one of each brand, and the finalists both get a dragster chassis, but the winner gets to pick which one they want. But I haven't really seen one where the dragster is the main prize, and then they pay back, like you said. So it's kind of cool, man, because, you know, after the Mulligan race last year, Tyler and Brian tried that for their warm-up type deal to this event, and it, you know, Mulligan races, just the way they work, they kind of drag out in the end. And they said, well, we're not doing that again, but we do have something else in mind. And obviously, this is a really cool warm-up race, man. $200 could potentially get you a $50,000 Mullis fully wired and painted roller. I mean, it's literally drop a motor and transmission in, as far as I can tell, and you're racing. So, I mean, $200 could save you a whole lot of money in the long run. I can tell you right now that the way those dragsters are selling for new prices, that's a pretty good deal to go in. I mean, realistically, I would almost say go in with 2 or 3 buddies or something and say, let's go try to win this car.
Yeah, man, and the way I see it, too, I don't really think, let's just say you're a door car guy. You have no need, no feelings, there's nothing that's going to get you in a dragster. Honestly, I don't see you leaving with that dragster in your trailer if that's the way you wanted to do it. Somebody at that track's going to take that Mollis off your hand.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice car. It's a very nice painted car. The wiring's pristine. I'll shout out Honey Wayne all day long on the wiring. A little bit of OCD or something going on, Honey Wayne, man, but good work. You put it to use, you know what I mean? Because that thing is it's pretty pristine. Those wires are laid out there really nice, man. So I'll keep shouting that out. And if you've never seen it, we'll take a look at it. It'll be there at the Twin 50s. At least you'll know what type of work it can do.
Right. And something that I want to point out also with the Twin 50s is I kind of feel like the 50s, just the way that it's marketed, you think there's only 2 50-grand races and then the one we just talked about for the warm-up. But on Sunday, there's actually a 25-grand race also. That $799 covers the 2 50s and the 25 grand as well. So I just wanted to point that out also. But the thing I really like about the way TB does stuff is they seem like they're reasonable. Like everybody wants to put that big number on top, right? And then it's usually like 50 grand to win. And then all of a sudden it's like 5 grand to runner up or something. And they're just saying, okay, we'll split it. Well, you know, there is a big discrepancy between first place and second place here, but it's 50 grand to win, 10 grand to runner up, 3 grand to semi, like 1250 to get to 7th round, 1,000. Like, I mean, you're already in, you know, 4 digits already with your 6th round win.
Right.
And that's what I like to see, because that means, I believe that would be what, at 16 cars, you're getting $1,000.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just not so hard to, consider that, because ultimately one guy is going to win the race, and you better hope that one guy wants to split, because right now we're in the days of nobody wanting to split anything. And I'm kind of wondering if this same format, I wonder how it would go off if rather than 50 grand to win, if it was 25 to win and then say 15 to runner up and then like 7,500 to semi, which, I mean, that's how the splits usually go whenever the time comes. But
Sure.
If somebody doesn't want to split, some things could go a different way. So I I guess, what do you think about that? Because that's just something I was thinking about today.
I just feel like, it in the grand scheme of things, more you pay in backwards, the more participation you're going to get. In the grand scheme of things, starting it at third round, you're already in good water, in my opinion. It's good and warm. But man, you start paying back at, certain spots on the, people are used to getting only like, to the eighths. You know what I mean? Did you freeze? Somebody give me a 1 in the chat. I think I lost though, Casey. It might be on my end though. Can you hear me, guys? Did I lose Casey? Anybody in the chat? Give me some information if you can still hear us. Keep talking. My power went out. I'm coming back. Hey, Quez, thanks for that. But I guess y'all gonna chill with me for a minute. Casey power went out. I don't know what's going on over there. He probably done overloaded the system or something. Thanks everybody letting me know you can still hear me. Let me get another screen up here, and wait for Casey to jump back. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. But no, just talking about paying back so far. I'm sure I'm not the only one here who, come third round, you let go of the button, you make a good lap. Man, I just captured $250. Coming into the fourth round, you're feeling pretty good. I think that translates across the board, in my opinion, as far as for when you're paying back so far. Whereas you show up, there's 4, 6, let's say 5 cars left in the heading towards the end of the race, and you barely made $50. One's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth, but the other's going to keep you coming back. That's what I feel like's going on. With TB's race. You're going to feel good about it. I see Winlight Bets is going to be on the premises as well. That's pretty neat. Old Rex over there is a good guy. And if you're on the premises, get a chance to stop by and holler at him and see how Winlight actually works in person as opposed for just on the app there. I'm going to go to the chat until Casey gets back here. I see Quest saying third loss every day. At the fling, he's hurt. Well, you're missing a little bit of that money, Quez, if you didn't get past the third round. I know Casey's been kind of telling me for a little while he has either the fourth round or the fifth round that he can't get out of. I'm sure all of us have been there at least at some point. So Eric White over here saying paying out something to more people always helps participation. That's spot on now. It's definitely spot on to say that. So hang on a minute. We'll just hang on.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top-selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
Innovation never sleeps at Pro-Am, and we're making our popular Black Race Series carburetors even better by adding new features that will set them apart from the competition. Some of the newest features include a newly designed main body with contoured Venturas for better airflow and a new inside and outside two-step down leg boosters for increased atomization and better throttle response. Also, newly designed fuel bowls with increased internal baffling for better fuel control and the lower fuel ramp for reduced turbulence. There are also some new upgrades to point out. The fuel bowls now both include nitrofill floats, and the throttle base plate now has slabbed shafts for better airflow. These new features, combined with the fully adjustable high-flow main body with screw-in air bleeds, billet metering blocks, high-performance billet throttle base plate, and aluminum fuel bowls with sight glass windows, makes for a great street strip carburetor that packs a punch.
Does that do anything?
Check this out, y'all. Everybody on GBR right now, Casey, they can hear you at least, but Casey's having technical difficulties with his audio, and so he can only hear me through my phone right now. We're going to try to fix that and keep moving along. You know how that goes, guys.
Yeah, man, it's a weird deal, man. Whenever you're trying to do a show over here, trying to do it live, literally my power just randomly went out. It didn't even, the lights didn't go out. It was just the computer shut off and shut back on.
That's
cut
pretty
off, cut on, whatever you want to call.
That's
I mean,
pretty
all
weird.
the guys out here, all my buddies say, they don't say a car starts, they say they crunk it.
They
Quez
crunk.
is probably one of them guys that crunk it up too. So
They didn't crank it, they crunk it, huh?
that's right.
And what they do, give it some booze? Got
I don't
crunk?
know. I don't know what they did,
Need
but
to
that's
come
just
over there.
what they say out here.
I need to come out there and see what you guys got in the water, because I ain't never heard nothing called about no crunking the car over. Anybody in the chat, if you've ever heard of crunking the car over, just let me know and school me for once, you know? I ain't never heard of that
That's
one,
right.
Casey. Right now, we're kind of improvising, though. I got my cell phone here, and your sound is coming through just fine, Casey, so figuring out a way to hear me the easiest might be the best right now, and we'll just kind of run with it, you know?
Cool.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, just is what it is. Hopefully people aren't getting feedback from that, but I can hear you over here on the phone. I'll put it a little ways away from the microphone, so maybe it'll work out for us.
Oh, no, you're good, man. It won't come through because, I got the noise canceller running at the same time, so it won't come through. So we were talking about before your power went off, twin 50s, and I kind of finished it out a little bit talking about how you get more participation when you pay back further. I know that most of us are used to going to some of our tracks. As a matter of fact, I really shouldn't say it that way. It maybe some of us get the uncomfortable taste of making it to the semifinals and only making $50. That should never happen, in my opinion.
That's right. I'm gonna cut you off there real quick. I did figure out one weird way to hear myself at the same time as hearing you on the phone. So I'm hanging up the secondary right here.
You're good.
So we're back to your previously scheduled programming.
Yeah, you can hear me.
Kind of odd. I can hear myself, but I can hear you, so
Yeah,
that's
cool.
good.
Cool.
So that's just how it goes sometimes, guys. So everybody wants to say, I was just telling Dylan Champion this earlier today. I was like, man, people think that old George and Casey just get on here and BS. There's a lot that goes into all this stuff, man. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. But anyway, man, yeah, we were talking about that twin 50s race, and I think you might have covered that while I was gone. Where were we at on that whole deal, man?
Yeah, man. But again, basically how they're paying back their structure, even at 50,000, you're still making $10,000 as a runner-up and on down. So just how they've structured their races, how well they're doing from a TV promotion standpoint, bringing in win live bets. I mean, pretty much anything you want to do is going to happen at a TV promotions race. I'm just mad I'm missing out again. So actually missing out for twin 50s for the first time. I don't think I'll miss it again though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be it sounds like a good thing to do, man. Everybody that I've talked to that's been involved with it have said that they just love the way that Brian and Tyler do things. And I think that it's simply because they're racers themselves and they know what we want because it's the same thing they would want. And I've never heard of anybody saying a cross word about either one of them as far as their promotional events and everything else goes. So wish them all the luck. Going to be interested to watch it on, I'm sure it's on Motor Mania, right?
Oh yeah. Motor Mania will be live. Something to tune into, guys. I'll be on the beach, not to rub it in, but I'll be right there with you in the Motor Maniacs bleacher section over there, rooting on a couple of GBR cars. Got Brad Gephardt out there, GBR, going after it. My uncle and my dad will be going at it, as well as my cousin Tony Jr. So we got a few cars out there going to try to come and take some of TB's money and have a good time. Got a comment out of Jalen Whitmore. Those low blows hurt more than the loss. I don't quite know what he means right here, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with going to the semifinals and only making $50. That's a low blow in my opinion. So,
exactly, man.
Let's talk about it though, Casey. Yeah, man. Let's get into it. Today's stream, in my opinion, it ought to be interesting. In my opinion, IHRA came out with something. I'm just going to flash it right on across the screen because I'm sure all of you've already saw it. But Casey, go ahead and kick us off with what IHRA announced.
As far as I've heard, obviously we've seen the posts. I made the post on GBR's Facebook page, and IHRA is bringing back, I don't know if they're going to refer to it as the Pro-Am series, but it's the Pro-Am series structure, which is they're bringing back the rod classes, quick rod, super rod, hot rod, along with top dragster and top sportsman. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. And this is something that was in the original post. You see over here, it says mystery class, but in the post, well, no, it says real steel, no time up here too. So that is something else. So we'll talk about that in a second, but
make a guess.
I'm interested to see this real steel heads up eliminator deal, because that sounds to me like a small tire. Obviously it'll be on a prep track. Had to cough there for a second, but anyway, I assume that's going to be like an all steel, all glass kind of run what you brung type deal. So that ought to get a lot of people interested in the sport and get more people out to the track, because we all know that that's what brings spectators out.
Right. And this is what I'm looking for right here, right off the bat, Casey. We got Jim Abate right here. He's saying they won't be doing it in Florida. There is not one track left that is IHRA in the state, right? That's understandable, but hopefully, Jim, you can find your way into, the areas at which this would be happening, because what we're going to highlight here is good for the sport. 100%, Casey. And I want to stick on this real steel thought as well, because when you go to I haven't ever been to a Pro-Am. I know I was reading through the comments on the IHRA's Facebook page there, and there were a lot of guys mentioning this is how I grew up. These are the type of races that I went to, but I never really got to run in these. I had to run like Super Street or some other classes that weren't quite the same structure as what IHRA does with their rod classes and things of that nature. But I really want to pick on, this real steel class and take my hat off to the thought process and the innovation to combine no prep with bracket racer, or that's been an argument for a little while now. Like, you really can't go on any social media platform, especially TikTok, and put on a video of you racing your car in bracket racing format without somebody who drives a street car that's way slower than yours saying that you suck. Okay, so IHRA is seemingly finding a way to combine it, because everybody knows that if you pay attention to your local area right now, there are a lot of no time cars that are out there running. What do you think, Casey?
Oh yeah, man. Because I started asking people about that, because that's a big deal out here in the Southeast, and I started seeing it for the first time really whenever I moved out here and started racing. And I was like, you can tell if you grew up the racetrack like we did. I can tell, within reason what's running what, and I'm talking about like just visually seeing, like, anybody who knows about racing knows the difference between 5 flat and 550 and 6 flat and 650 and so on. And I saw a bunch of no time cars out here, and I was like, why are they no timing? Because they're Pro Tree no timing, and I guarantee you they're only going like 680s at the fastest. Now, I'm not saying they all do that, because some of them out here are insanely fast. Like, they'll go 4.0s. Like, those no prep Kings cars, they'll go 380s, 390s. But I just never really understood it. But what a lot of people say is they're like, man, the average guy, and the average guy being a spectator, doesn't understand that. Like Quayne Stott, who runs Southeast Gassers, I don't think they put times up on the scoreboards for their gasser classes, because he said the average guy sitting in the stands watching the cars just wants to see two cars go down side by side. They don't really care how fast they are, because they don't know.
Right. Which is gonna. I think that's gonna go good. It's gonna be a great way to introduce No time fans with bracket racing fans, and throw some win light bets in there if you can too, guys, because that's just it's gonna get everybody involved in what we are all organically contributing to in the first place, and that's drag racing. So
Now,
yeah,
here's the overall question: is that now that they're bringing back a Pro-Am deal, does that make more of these tracks that were switching to different organizations want to come back to IHRA? Because IHRA now has something major to offer, because they're going to, I mean, just like NHRA has a Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series, Lucas Oil constantly sponsors that. That's because there's a lot of them, and they're all over the country.
I think it's a question that everybody on the chat right now, and there's a bunch of you guys out there, everybody probably has the same thought. There were a lot of tracks that went to a different sanctioning body or remained with the sanctioning body that may now have the thought process to switch it up. Case in point, and I just want to bring this point up, and we can stick here for a little bit. I know we have a lot of Carolina racers that follow going bracket racing. Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, welcome to Carolina. Any track you pretty much want to go to if that's the case, because you guys got a lot of Top Sportsman, Top Dragster style cars. I know that you mentioned that you have a kind of a stock, super stock like class almost. What's the name of that class that you say
They
shows
call
up?
it Carolina Class Racers is what it's called out here. It's
Yeah.
a lot of the guys who used to run IHRA stock and super stock, that's what they kind of built, because there's a lot of those cars out here, and a lot of guys love that class racing out here. One of the things, speaking of what you were saying about the Top Sportsman, Top Dragster deal, I mean, at this point anymore, you put a 250 shot on most any bracket dragster, and it is a top dragster. I mean, a lot of them run 440s, 430s already. You put a 250 shot on it, they're going teens.
True.
And, maybe they got to put a little more, because obviously the more power you make, it's, diminishing marginal returns, so
Sure.
it's, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of these guys, I mean, TG Pascal, he runs his car, runs like high 440s at Galat's points races and all around the country, and then he goes to PDRA and it goes 420.
And I'm glad you mentioned that particular body of racing as well, because seemingly IHRA is going to adopt or model themselves Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. Now, I could be wrong, but if anybody in the chat wants to correct me, I do believe I saw PDRA rules attached to those particular classes, which will be awesome. But let's get into the .90 classes, Casey, because that's what the quick rod and hot rod are. Am I right?
Yeah, they're well, essentially yes, they are, but of course they'll be mostly contested 8th mile, because
That's what I
IHRA,
wanted to hear.
as far as tracks go, they've only got a couple quarter-mile tracks. So that's kind of a cool aspect, because now quick rod, which is super comp, would be 570. Super rod, which would be super gas equivalent, is 640. Hot rod is 7 flat, which would be super street. Now, what's also cool is that a lot of places, I think, super street is not contested a lot of times at NHRA events. So super street being hot rod, you have a lot of places to go. And what's also cool about it is there's a lot of cars that would be in the hot rod class for 7 flat that could also pick to run super rod, because they could run it all out in super rod, or they could dial it back just a little and run hot rod. But what's really cool is it seems like for example, my Firebird, my white car that I just got rid of not too long ago that I was running last year, that car ran 550. It could run any of those classes depending on how long you want to be on the stop.
That's right. Now, throwing a good wrinkle in is the thought process of 8th mile in these .90 classes. I don't think anybody's doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you know of a .90 class that is running on the 8th mile as opposed
Not
to
currently.
I don't either.
Not that I know of.
That's a major wrinkle. I almost feel like it brings the art of, you have to be a tuner. You have to be go test a little bit. You got to figure out combinations to make it happen. And maybe you already have them. I just don't know. Maybe since you have a 890 car or you run super comp, maybe your car already runs 570 to the 8th. I really don't have the answer to that. But I know that there's a lot of super comp cars that'll turn off the stop 190 mile an hour. So I'm pretty sure they're not running 570 to the 8th. I'm pretty sure of it.
No, they're all running super comp pretty well. I think all runs between 615 and 635 to the eighth, depending on how big their motor is and how much mile an hour they run. But
right.
Eric White over here in the YouTube chat just said they'd be smart to drop the times on both index classes. That is true because anymore. I mean, I would almost say that the super comp level class probably should be like a 490 deal maybe, or a 520 deal or something like that. Maybe drop everything a half second or something except hot rod maybe. That'd be interesting because everybody can run that. That's true. What I'm excited about more than anything for all this Pro-Am stuff is that everybody says, oh man, well, what about participation? What about this? What about that? Well, the thing is, if you have a Pro-Am event show up and you have these types of classes, which since they're 8th mile, it's a lot easier to fit things in other classes. What's cool is, number one, all the rod classes in my thought process are going to be single entry, no buybacks. So that's cool, and that's going to draw people too, because as Shane Carr said on a few episodes back, that's a real race. That's literally you win or you lose, and that's that. There is no second chance. But what's cool is, in theory, you artificially double the car count or maybe even more of the car count, because they're still going to run their top ET, mod ET, those types of programs at the same time. So if I showed up, let's say Kinston was an IHRA track for years and years and years until this year. If I showed up there and I could run hot rod at 7 flat, and then I could also run top ET, then I'm going to run both, you know?
Right.
So that's kind of a cool aspect in my opinion. But what I think it all hinges on, the participation rate's going to hinge 100% on the contingency program.
I think that's true, and I've seen that comment a few times within the chat, the announcement as well that IHRA put out on their website. Talk to me, Casey, and this is one thing and kind of a pet peeve of mine that I'd like to just point a finger at here. We're here as a community in GBR. Everybody could agree with that. And all of us have some type of input or an idea that could make things better. One thing I challenge everybody, and this is more of a comment, and you can expand if you want to, Casey, but I challenge everybody with those thought processes. Don't just go out there and drop a "oh that sucked" comment. Give something in response to why it sucked, and then on top of that, give a suggestion on what could have made it better. I think I was looking at Havana's page is where I was looking, where somebody got a little upset about a race that went down that had a lot of entries, and there might have been an oil down, and it may have took them a little bit more time to clean it up so that we can be safe on the racetrack, which is what everybody else in here that drag race wants in the first place. Yeah, it might take you a little longer to clean it up, but as long as it's safe, so be it. Somebody was angry about that and kind of commented. So I thought that this was a good place to say, we've got IHRA basically trying to put their brain power together as a group, as a sanctioning body, to figure out how can we make IHRA the most sought after raced at events in drag racing. It's lists like what I showed you a little earlier that can do that. Now it's up to us to figure out how to make it work. Do they need to run a census? Do they need to figure out like what Jim's saying? There's not an IHRA track in Florida. Jim, that's going to change, by the way. I mean, there ain't no way that won't change with this type of announcement, in my opinion. Okay, but
right,
what can we do to help as racers?
Well, the number one thing you can do to help is obviously support the program, but number two is, if something doesn't run the way that people want it to, it's like you were saying earlier, everybody's real quick to be like, that sucks. That sucks. This is what's bad about it. Well, first of all, if something does truly suck, people already know that. You don't need to tell everybody. Everybody already knows. Maybe you could show up with an opinion, because ultimately what we all want to do is we all want to go drag racing, and we all want to have, obviously the ideal situation to have is free entry and you pay all the money to win, and that is what it is. That's not necessarily feasible, but depending on how you do the marketing, it could potentially be. So if you can figure out how to make it better, then share the ideas, because you ultimately are the one that benefits. So don't tear stuff down, try to build it up. Drag racing has so many different facets within itself. And if everybody just got on the same team, drag racing would be the biggest motorsport in the entire world, because it is the easiest to get into. Period.
Yeah. And let's be honest, we're all drag racers. Who really is upset about that particular announcement? As a racer, coming from a racer's standpoint, you see Top ET is embedded inside of Quick Rod, Hot Rod, Super Rod, Top Dragster Sportsman, but Top ET is still there. That's my class. Just like you said, everybody's class is basically there, and then a mystery class. And a real steal, where Kevin Grider's saying here, average good small tire racers are going low fives on a no prep track and then dipping into the fours on a prep track.
Right.
The cars are fast, dude.
And that's something that I don't even remember. It might have been Kevin I was talking to it about with. I can't remember. I was texting him yesterday about some stuff. But they said that small tire stuff is slowly eating itself for the no prep side of things because it's getting so expensive. You know, money comes in and kills a lot of stuff if there's no rules. Well, no prep is no rules on pretty much anything. It's just run what the tire is pretty much the rule, and that's it. And ultimately, I mean, there's guys I've heard out there that are running tires for 5 sets because they figure out it gives up 3 numbers because you're so hard on the tire on a no prep scenario, and they're getting brand new tires, man. I know what tires cost, and that's getting crazy. You know, the whole point of no prep was for cheap, just like bracket racing too. But, you know, I'm interested to see what those guys do with that real steel class. But the thing I'm mostly interested in seeing is now that they're going to have an actual tour type deal, will they have a spectacle type thing? Like, will they have jet cars show up or fuel cars show up? Or, you know what would be the coolest, in my opinion? Bring back Nitro Coupe.
Hey, you know
like
what?
Even 3 or 4, like 4 of them. Just, you know what I'm saying?
You know, as I'm sitting here, man, and you know, guys, you guys have been watching Going Bracket Racing for a while. Casey and I can have thoughts in our brains and somehow know that thought's coming up next, because that's where I was going next, Casey. What's going to be the spectacle? And I think other people think the same, because when you look at that list, I see 2 classes that probably are going to get more spectator performance than others.
Exactly.
Spectator, of course, is going to keep everybody IHRA sanctioned. If you could throw an IHRA event and get 10,000 spectators at your races, nobody's going anywhere, right? That's why I like the thought process to bring in real steel or mystery class, which everybody, you can take your bets in the chat right now, or say what you think that mystery class is, and I'll say mine. I think Casey will agree with what mine is. I think, right? But it would be awesome to see that mystery class be Pro Mod. It would be awesome to see IHRA Pro Mod back in the mix.
Yeah, have that be their professional level category.
Correct.
You know what else would be awesome as far as spectacles go? There's nothing that's much more of a spectacle than a fuel altered.
True.
You know, and with Funny Car Chaos and everything, they're building those cars now. I mean, you get some of those Funny Car Chaos cars, get Southeast gassers. I mean, it just needs to have some sort of specialty thing, because the more spectators you get in the gate, the more marketable the series is. And then that gives them more sponsorship money, and then they can pay that back to the racers. So if everybody just can stick with it and support the event, Larry Jeffers, man, he is one of us. Regardless of what everybody thinks, Larry Jeffers is a racer. And Larry Jeffers, obviously his money is in racing. His whole business where he's made his money that he used to buy IHRA was made in racing. And now he owns IHRA. He obviously wants it to be successful. So give him the opportunity to do that. You know?
I see Barn here saying Nitro Jam. I know you know what that is, Casey. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're going back to those type of days. We might be on to something here is all I got.
And this is something too about the Nitro cars. All you need is something that blows flames out the headers. Some of these smaller IHRA type tracks, they're not your typical gateways, your VMPs, your Darlingtons, stuff like that. Like, I'm talking these smaller tracks. If you can have a fuel car there, anything, Nitro Coupe, top fuel car, funny car, fuel altered, anything that has nitro in it that blows flames out. Some of these tracks that have low lighting, that's the ultimate place for a fuel car to be. You will pack the gates. Like, you'll have so many spectators there to be unbelievable, because you just see this thing blast into the darkness Like I saw Scott Palmer do that at some smaller track, I want to say in like Missouri or something like that. And he just blasted down through there, and all you see is his, I think the Studezilla car, and it just looks like the Studebaker's driving through just a fireball.
Big ball of fire.
It's crazy.
Right. Gee whiz. No, this is great, guys. But keeping in mind, having a stream of this show of this with this subject, you never know who's listening. You never know who's watching. So the idea is keep them coming. You know, I guarantee you there are things that everybody at IHRA that they're thinking about how to make it as good as it could get. They're not trying to halfway do this here. You can tell just by the announcement itself. You could tell this is not a halfway deal. I know there's a lot of moving parts still with this, and we'll get many more updates like this, but stick with us here on GBR, and as we get them, we'll try to keep pushing them on down and keep talking about them as well, So I see Barnes saying hook up with ADRL for the feature show. That would even be interesting, just since we're on the subject, ADRL was just at Extreme Raceway Park. And man, I mean to tell you, I watched an old boy get on the live stream and kind of let it all hang out. I mean, he was talking the talk, but he had every bit of right to, because he whooped everybody out there. I can't remember the guy's name, but he whooped everybody. And I think he's either part owner of Extreme or owner of Extreme. I think his name might be Clyde, I think, but...
Well,
man, he whooped everybody, and he got on there talking trash. I was all over that dude. You know me, I like to talk a little trash.
ADRL is the true home of absolute outlaw pro mod, man. They all have screw blowers, and they're all like, I'm fairly certain they have safety rules, and that is it.
Man, so I think Barnes onto something. Partner up with some of these things, and that's a lot of classes. However, so you got to be careful at how you hold this race. I can see 500 cars showing up at a race like this that IHRA is trying to put together. So, yeah.
So the other thing is it'll have a points program with it. It'll have actual national points program, a national points title. I mean, there are a lot of people, man, that means something to be the national champion type thing. I mean, it means a lot to be a track champion, let alone be a national champion. And you'll have the ability to do that now, and as far as I can tell. But I really think that there's a lot of people. Whenever I first moved out here, man, I can't tell you how many people were always saying, I just wish Pro-Am had come back. I wish IHRA would bring back Pro-Am. I wish they'd bring back Pro-Am. Well, they are, man. 2024 is going to be the year. So if you really wanted to know that, then here it is. I can tell you right now that my top sportsman car, hopefully it'll be ready at that point. It's all a money thing right now, so we'll see how all that goes. Maybe get a couple people to jump on with old GBR, help us out. But I can tell you right now that if all else fails, the Nova will be running hot rod next year at a couple events.
Yeah, I can see myself needing a throttle stop, possibly, or some nitrous or something, whichever class I decide to run, because Old Mo's going to be participating in something too, and like you said, it's going to be top in something else. I don't run mod. I mean, I guess I could, but I don't. I don't know. I'm excited. You might not be able to tell it from a voice, but I'm pretty excited about that announcement. And I think there's a lot of people out here that share the same feelings, considering how many comments and things of that nature we're getting in this chat.
Yeah.
So.
Anthony Evans says just rotate it around. Pro Mod one event, Gassers one event, 470 one event. I mean, that's what's cool about this whole deal is you could kind of, if you have just a random class, like in my opinion, that's going to be the flagship thing, whatever class shows up. Well, you can go to wherever these cars have a stronghold. Like, for example, Mooresville, Piedmont, that area, they have a lot of 470 door cars over there because Mooresville does a 470 index deal of their own, not just Verge, but they have their own deal. So in this general area, there's a lot of fast door cars here, and nothing packs the stands other than Nitro. Nothing packs the stands more than heads-up door car racing, fast door car racing.
Yeah, that's a fact too. And again, we have, with this announcement, we've opened the door to be able to accommodate just about every single class. in my opinion. Those Verge cars, they can run top sportsmen. They might be restricted to 470. You and I both know those cars are faster than 470.
Oh yeah.
They can get it on down. Maybe they only got one kit. Maybe they're just running natural aspirated, but they can get it down a lot faster. So I like the flexibility. I like the thought process behind it. Even junior dragsters in the mix. Everybody's included on this little announcement. Everybody. I don't see one class left out over the other. Mystery class could be the dang street outlaws, all we know.
That's true, man.
You know what I mean?
And what would pack the stands more than bringing a No Prep Kings grudge race there? Because guess what? Don't forget, one of those main street outlaws is Disco Dean, and he's a bracket racer first.
Fact. And let's not also forget that, Larry Jeffers probably built most of those cars in the first place. Okay, so, the mystery class could be street outlaws. I'm lining up Mo against one of them, too. Turn it into a bracket race. You're going home. Put some money on.
I think they have that. I'm pretty sure No Prep Kings is coming to Galat in, I want to say like October or November or something like that. Adam Vallow told me that the other day. Him and his boy are pretty big No Prep Kings fans. And I can tell you one thing, everybody can say what they want about that, but I'm going to go see them in real life because they're fast. And I just want to see them.
And check this out, too. I got Randall Blinson in the chat.
Oh,
he says,
that's the original Big Daddy.
He said, not many IHRA tracks in North Carolina. I think he's right for 2023. I do.
I want to know this. If Randall's is in here, I want to know if, and that might be Candy too, his wife, but I want to know if they think that Coastal will come back to IHRA now that they have the Pro-Am deal, because that would be a very good track to have back.
Hey, Casey, go ahead and just say Coastal Plains come back to IHRA. I bet you they're listening.
Hey, I hope that they do.
Come on back. And what I was alluding to is in 2023, I'm not going to rip off a Band-Aid that has a good scab and everything's kind of starting to heal over and kind of everybody's getting on with themselves. But, everybody knows what happened in 2023, kind of the start of the year. We reported on it all winter long. Well, it's going to be an interesting winter again. Winter Series is going to be great because here we go with musical chairs 2.0, and we just need to come up with the music, Casey, and then and play musical chairs or musical sanctioning bodies. Because just like he said, there's not one track in Florida anymore. Got another one saying there's not many tracks in North Carolina left. Well, I think that's going to change, man. I do. I think it's going to change because that is a well-rounded thought process. It's you meet everybody where they are on their common ground of what they like to do in bracket racing or drag racing or real steel or top sport. Don't matter. Everybody's covered on that list.
Right. And the thing is, especially in North Carolina, the reason the Pro-Am was such a big deal out here was because I think at one point they had Roxborough, I want to say Farmington, Piedmont. I think Mooresville's always been NHRA. They had, let's see,
Kinston.
They had Coastal Plains, Kinston. Well, see, you got 5 just right there that I've said. So between those 5, if you ran 2 Pro-Ams at each one, you can kind of feel like you traveled around. The furthest guy is only going to travel maybe 3 hours. And if you had 2 races at each track, that's 10 events. That's an entire season right there as far as that divisional type class stuff goes. So, if they could work on that, man, like this could be their flagship division right here, getting it done.
Let's not think that the Foleys and the Hamlins and the IHRA, the body of IHRA, they're not wise enough to work their races around each track. That's going to be case in point as well, especially with the amount of tracks you have in the 2-hour radius of where you are, Casey. Being able to say, all right, we're going to Pro-Am here and Pro-Am there and just do a big circle. Just keep doing a circle. So be it. But that would be fun. Like a big series within the state to end up at World Finals. Because that on a World Finals stage right there, man, that looks pretty good from a World Finals standpoint.
Yeah, man, and it's kind of one of those things that me and you have always talked about, and if anybody ever wanted to front the money for it, we do all the planning to make it happen. But I've always thought that there's so many tracks in this small little area. I don't care what sanctioning body they are or not. I don't understand why they don't have kind of a King of North Carolina series or whatever that just goes to every single track and just run a race there one weekend and then have a points program with that. Like, I mean, I think people would follow that deal because it's not very far to go. Like, you can't do that everywhere, but this is a unique area where you could do that because it's not very much further for a lot of people.
I think you're right, man. I think you're right. I see Larry Jeffers in the chat. Larry Jeffers is in the chat, Casey. He said, "Keep up the good work," and yeah, we will, Larry. You know, y'all keep up the good work because we're the consumer, for crying out loud. I want to be able to race. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah, tell him to give me a call. I always have random ideas all the time. So I mean, maybe with him having the sanctioning body, maybe he can put some of my ideas in motion or tell me it's a terrible idea, one or the other.
Maybe I ought to put a 632 in Mo.
Hey, go ahead.
Might
Go
need
steal it from your old man. He has one.
He got two, but it might need a little bit more work before I can do something like that, big dog. But, you know, those small block truck.
Hey man, if they're I really think that Top Sportsman's going to take off because there's a lot of guys. I mean, Top Sportsman is just one of the coolest classes because it's still to the point where it's a bracket program, so it's not going to get insane. It can get insane. I mean, the guy who qualified #1 at PDRA this year for Top Sportsman was one nitrous kit away from being Pro Nitrous #1 qualifier. I mean, he went 377.
Right.
You know, he could have qualified with Pro Nitrous. So, I mean, I think Jay Cox was #1, like 363 or something like that. I know Travis Harvey was way up in there too. And Travis Harvey's kind of like, I mean, he owns Carolina No Time. So,
right. No, I can see my uncle now, him in the Monte Carlo, and him stepping on that old small block, making it run quite a bit harder too. I mean, it's running the 5 teens right now, but you know, just like I know, he can make it go faster, you know. But
well, man, power is easily accessible anymore, and you know, I know there's a lot of guys that have, you know, they say they're dragster lovers, but that's because they can drive those better and drive those the way they want to drive them. I know I was one of those guys. I was a better driver in a dragster than I was in a door car, but ultimately fast door cars are what drag racing's all about, really.
Right.
And that's what gets interest. That's why all these YouTube channels and stuff take off, like Old Man's Garage, fast door cars, Street Racing Channel, fast door cars, all the no prep cars, fast door cars. I mean, it's just, that's what interests people, and that's what gets spectators interested. And don't forget, everybody is always a spectator before they are a racer, never the other way around. Even people like me, who was at the racetrack when I was three months old.
Right.
I mean, that's, you know, I was always a spectator before I was a race car just because of age. But ultimately, people just need to, we need to get more people in the gates, and fast door car racing is the way to do it.
The way to do it, and it's coming. That's all I got, dude.
And eighth mile fast door car racing is much more feasible.
Even better. You know what happens out past 8 Mile anyway. You know, luckily at most of these tracks are getting really good at prepping them on out past that 8th mile, keeping the rubber down. But man, it just seems a little bit more of a safety aspect in that 8th mile, you know?
Yeah. That extra 50 mile an hour or whatever you're pulling, I mean, it's a big difference. I mean,
you start
it just
is.
I mean, you're talking
and all this other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking a lot of cars nowadays. I mean, there's a lot of dragsters, a lot of door cars that they're running 150 mile an hour, 8th mile. I mean, Rodney Schaefer, he ran 474 at like 147 or 148 turned down. I mean, I don't know what Dad's car is going to run. We don't even know what Boost is going to make. Hopefully, it looks kind of rainy out there, and I don't know. Hopefully, we'll be at Darlington tomorrow testing. But I mean, if it goes in the 60s, it's going to run around 150 mile an hour. So that's a 200 mile an hour quarter mile time.
Hey man, this is either Greg or Brad saying Corvette Roadster series.
Oh,
I was going to ask, are the Corvette Roadsters going to be allowed in Top Sportsman, and what that would look like?
Nah.
I don't think so either. I don't think they're going to be fast enough, number one, but that'd be neat, a Corvette Roadster. Maybe just couple them into the 470 index, you know, if we had a 470 index style. I know there's roasters in the room 470.
A lot of the rules always say they have to have a roof and working doors.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Corvette Roadsters are designed for super gas. That's where they belong.
Well, or the racetrack or the bracket track. No, we don't have a Corvette Roadster in the family. You'd be all right if you see any around us, but you know.
Yeah, man. It's other than the technical difficulties,
not bad,
week
right?
GBR.
Right. I guess I got to
Hey, we
get.
came back though. We didn't give up on everybody.
Oh, that's never gonna happen. I get to get in a car and drive for probably 7 hours. Pray for me. Pray for me.
No, yeah, 7 hours. You gotta let them know. Not 7 hours by yourself. 7 hours with two little kids.
And my wife. so
Yep.
ought to be.
I was trying to leave her out of that. Now you're in trouble.
I'm not in trouble. She knows. Guys, we appreciate it a lot. You guys jumping in here and always following GBR. After the commercials, I didn't get to thank our sponsors, so I'm gonna do that now. Shout out Crew Chief Pro, BRG, Motorsports, 3D printed parts. I'm telling you, if you need anything made, he can make it. Period, point blank. I have a fire extinguisher in my car now. I didn't have one. Fast disconnect. I can, whatever. Anyway, Ken Jones Performance, TSR Racing Products, Proform Parts, Driven Racing Oils, Syntex Printing. Everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Your ad here if you would like to join up and be part of the Going Bracket Racing community. Casey, you got anything in closing?
No, man, just glad that my stuff decided to work again. It's crazy. It's just always something, you know?
Right, man. That's just the way it is. So on behalf of GBR, I don't think we'll see you next Tuesday because, well, I don't get off of vacation until next Wednesday. But we'll see you the Tuesday after that. Be safe out there on the racetrack. Go have some fun. Hopefully at the Twin Fiddies, you guys do your thing out there. Kind of sad I'm missing it myself, but we'll see you next year. Everybody take it easy. Till next time.